All the Reddit, GameStop stuff happened. If you remember that story a couple of years ago, where definitely put in a lot of people's minds that these markets could be manipulated. Of course, it was all over social media, and I sent my wife a text message and I said, "Hey, did you see this news? Did you see this game that was being played?" And she was like, "Oh, yeah, is this what you were talking about?" And I'm like, exactly what I was talking about.
Welcome to the STR Home Financing Podcast, where we believe a legacy is something you build, not just something you leave behind. And now, here's your host, Jeff Chisum.
Hey, this is Jeff Chisum with STR Home Financing. Thank you for joining me for episode 14. Very excited to bring this episode to you because I'll be sharing a little bit of our personal journey, our personal story into the realm of short-term rentals. This was probably 7-8 years ago. We were really looking for ways to invest our excess into places that would be responsible, that would be an area where we could multiply our efforts. And you may have heard the story before, but we naturally, because of originating for the past 15 years, originating residential mortgages, leaned towards real estate. So I looked at long-term rentals. Really, the best avenue there was new builds, and I couldn't find communities that would sell to me as an investor. So one of the resources that I had available to put towards this space, and we were looking for opportunities to redeploy these funds, was through old 401ks that I had from past employers, just had money sitting here and there, and finally decided that I wanted to take that money out of the stock market and redirect it in ways that I believed in or I felt comfortable investing in. So that was the real estate. So put that money in a self-directed IRA, started researching the opportunities there to put that money where I wanted to put it. And again, led me down the path of real estate and eventually to short-term rentals. So my wife and I decided, hey, this was a path that we wanted to pursue, looking at short-term rentals. In a roundabout way, we had ended up in Arkansas looking at those. Actually, my oldest son was out in Arkansas. He had recently gotten married and was a firefighter out there. So we were looking for places that we could buy and stay in when we went up to visit them. So found a great lake. And as we were getting prepared for our trip to go look at properties, came across just this beautiful, picturesque cabin, had all those features that in my mind were exactly what I was looking for when I imagined us buying a property in this space in the Ozarks, in the hills of north central Arkansas. And there was this other property that came up that was somewhat intriguing, but was very unassuming because of the era that it was built. Looked at it, didn't seem like much. But I was interested in this other property as well, because it was right on the lake. So we get out there, we tour homes, we get out to this golf course cabin, and it's just not what we're looking at for personal use. It's wedged in between two fairways, but the cabin was everything that it appeared to be and checked those boxes, except we get outside, almost get hit by a golf ball, and really solidified that idea that, yeah, this isn't the place where we want our family to hang out. The other thing that I should mention during our property tour was there was a little mix up on our showing time and them having guests in that cabin using it as a short-term rental. So it was a guys group, a Lions Club. They had their boxes and boxes of Little Debbie cakes and beer and just everything that they needed to have a good time. And they graciously let us go ahead and tour the property, and we got to ask them some questions, and they explained, yeah, we've been coming here for years. There's a group of 10, 12 of us, and we've been coming out here, and it's part of our annual golf trip. So it was very interesting to see the property operate in a way that we probably wouldn't get to see a property operate again, and that was as an existing short-term rental. So passed on that one, end up at this other house that I mentioned, pull up to it, nothing real interesting until you walk into the front door and you look out through the back. The back is just solid glass windows, glass doors, and you could tell because of the canopy of the trees that there's something special out there. We walk out there, could see the lake. Boom, that was it. That was our first short-term rental purchase. Fast forward, we get that property rent ready, up and running, and having a discussion with my wife about 6 months later that we've still got that money sitting there, and I'd really like to maybe revisit things with the golf course cabin, because what we found out is that they took it off the market because it stayed rented all the time, and they had a hard time showing it because of that. And from an investment standpoint, a pure investment property standpoint, that's exactly what we wanted, exactly what we were looking for. Strong average daily rental rate, high occupancy, and opportunity to build on what the current owner had been doing. So talking to my wife one night at a date night, explain it's still on the market. I don't trust Wall Street. I don't trust the games that are being played. And I think that we should pursue the golf course cabin. So next day, all the Reddit, GameStop stuff happened. If you remember that story a couple of years ago, where definitely put in a lot of people's minds that these markets could be manipulated. Of course, it was all over social media. And I sent my wife a text message and I said, hey, did you see this news? Did you see this game that was being played? And she was like, oh, yeah, is this what you were talking about? And I'm like, exactly what I was talking about. So she gave me the thumbs up to pursue things. We reached out to the seller and we used that self-directed IRA to purchase that golf course cabin. So I didn't have all the funds that I needed to cover the entire purchase price. So this is where I want to share something that I did, but I don't necessarily have to offer as a product, but we used a non-recourse loan for 50% of the purchase price. The other 50% we used from the self-directed IRA. So purchase the property in the name of the IRA, and we were able to leave reserves in there for anything that came up. So we weren't in an emergency situation. So that ended up being a great avenue, especially this past year and what we've seen with the stock market. I feel very good about having taken that money, put it in real estate. I like the idea that I can point to a piece of property, and if anything happened to it, I could simply execute on my insurance policy to rebuild that property if it burned down or if it was damaged. Yeah, I like that avenue that we use to purchase that second property. So hopefully this will help someone. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a chat through my website, strhomefinancing.com. And until next time.
Jeff Chisum is a registered mortgage loan officer, NMLS 673623 for Northpointe Bank, NMLS 447490. Northpointe Bank is an equal housing lender. All programs and products discussed on the show are subject to change without notice.